Sugar is something so ordinary today that we rarely stop to think about it. It's in our tea, in cakes, in chocolate, in soft drinks, in bread, even in medicine. Yet the story of sugar is one of the most remarkable journeys in human history. It spans thousands of years, stretches across continents, and shaped empires, economies, and entire societies. The history of sugar is not only about sweetness, it is about discovery, innovation, trade, slavery, revolution, and even science. The story begins in ancient India, more than 2,000 years ago. There, people first discovered that the tall, grassy plant we know as sugarcane contained a sweet juice. For centuries, people had known sweetness only through honey or sweet fruits. But sugarcane offered a new kind of concentrated sweetness that could be preserved, stored, and traded. The Sanskrit word sarkara, meaning gravel or grit, referred to the crystallized sugar that Indians learned to make by boiling sugarcane juice. This word eventually traveled through languages, into Arabic as sucker, into medieval Latin as succorum, and finally into English as sugar. From India, sugarcane cultivation and sugar-making techniques spread eastward to China and westward to Persia. By around the 6th century CE, sugar was already being used in medicine as well as food. Ancient physicians described it as a cooling substance, useful for the stomach and throat. It was considered almost a miracle drug, prescribed for fevers, digestive troubles, and even wounds. At the same time, cooks began experimenting with it in sweets, syrups, and preserves. The Arabs played a crucial role in the global spread of sugar. After the rise of Islam in the 7th century, Arab conquerors and traders carried sugarcane across the Middle East, North Africa, and into Spain. They perfected techniques for refining sugar and introduced irrigation methods that allowed sugarcane to flourish in new lands. By the 10th century, cities like Baghdad, Cairo, and Cordoba had become centers of sugar production and consumption. For the wealthy, sugar was a symbol of luxury. Banquets in the Islamic world often featured elaborate sugar sculptures, castles, animals, even entire scenes crafted from hardened sugar. Europe first encountered sugar in a significant way during the Crusades. Crusaders who traveled to the Holy Land in the 11th and 12th centuries tasted this exotic sweetness and brought it back home. But in medieval Europe, sugar was still rare and extremely expensive. It was sold by apothecaries, often described as a medicine rather than a food. Wealthy nobles used it sparingly, sprinkling it on meats and vegetables, or consuming it as candy-like comfits. In the courts of kings, sugar remained a symbol of status. Everything changed with the age of exploration. As European powers, Portugal, Spain, later the Netherlands, France, and Britain expanded into the Atlantic and the Americas, they discovered that the climate of the Caribbean, Brazil, and other tropical regions was ideal for growing sugarcane. By the 16th century, sugar plantations began to appear across the New World. These plantations required enormous amounts of labor, and tragically, this demand fueled one of the darkest chapters in human history, the transatlantic slave trade. Millions of Africans were forcibly transported to the Americas to work in brutal conditions on sugar plantations. The combination of European capital, African labor, and American land created what historians call the Sugar Triangle. Ships carried manufactured goods from Europe to Africa, enslaved people from Africa to the Americas, and sugar, rum, and other goods back to Europe. Sugar was not just a luxury anymore. It was becoming a mass commodity, and its production reshaped the world's economy. In 17th and 18th century Europe, sugar consumption exploded. At first, it sweetened the bitter drinks that had just arrived from overseas: tea from China, coffee from the Middle East, and cocoa from the Americas. Soon, sweet pastries, jams, and desserts became fashionable. By the 19th century, sugar had become so popular that it was described as a necessity for the working class. It provided quick calories during the Industrial Revolution, fueling factory workers much as coal-fueled machines. But sugar was also expensive to import, and not every country had colonies in the tropics. That is why the discovery of beet sugar in Europe was revolutionary. In the late 18th century, chemists found that ordinary sugar beets contained sucrose that could be extracted and crystallized just like cane sugar. During the Napoleonic Wars, when Britain's naval blockade cut off France from Caribbean sugar, Napoleon ordered massive beet cultivation across Europe. By the mid-19th century, beet sugar production was widespread, and it reduced Europe's dependence on colonial cane sugar. The industrialization of sugar production in the 19th century made it cheaper and more available than ever before. New refining methods, steam-powered mills, and railroads all contributed to this boom. Sugar shifted from a luxury item to a household staple. In Victorian England, children grew up eating boiled sweets, puddings, and cakes. In America, sugar consumption soared with the rise of soda, candy bars, and ice cream. By the 20th century, sugar was everywhere. Yet this sweetness has always had a darker side. While sugar fueled economies and cultures, it also fueled health problems. As early as the 19th century, doctors warned that excessive sugar contributed to dental decay. In the 20th and 21st centuries, the link between sugar and obesity, diabetes, and heart disease became undeniable. The same product that once symbolized luxury and progress now raised concerns about public health. Governments and scientists began studying sugar consumption, and debates over hidden sugars in processed foods continue today. Beyond health, sugar has also shaped culture in surprising ways. It influenced art. Consider the sugar sculptures of Renaissance Europe or the elaborate confections of French pâtisseries. It shaped politics, wars were fought over sugar colonies, and revolutions were sparked in part by sugar taxes, such as the role of molasses and sugar duties in the American Revolution. It even shaped science, inspiring innovations in chemistry and agriculture. Today, sugar remains both ordinary and extraordinary. It is produced on a massive scale, with countries like Brazil, India, China, and the European Union leading global production. Sugarcane fields stretch across tropical landscapes, while sugar beet farms dominate parts of Europe and North America. Modern factories produce not just table sugar, but also countless derivatives, molasses, syrups, ethanol, and biofuels. And yet, despite new substitutes like artificial sweeteners and growing health awareness, sugar retains its central place in human diets. The story of sugar is ultimately a story of human desire for sweetness, for wealth, for power. It began with the simple boiling of cane juice in ancient India and became a global industry that shaped economies, fueled slavery, inspired wars, and transformed cultures. The next time you stir a spoonful of sugar into your tea or coffee, you are partaking in a tradition thousands of years old, a tradition that has changed the course of history more than almost any other food. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment to join the journey through history. See you in the next video.